This is Talk Time with Stan and Stan. This is number 5 in the series, and the first subject was on materialism and money. I had a little bit of a misunderstanding of what materialism is, but Stan explains it better to me. So here's that conversation. The concept of money goes back to the concept of materialism that you were describing in another video, or well, you had put up the definition of it at any rate. And we have become, or perhaps we've been, a materialistic society for so long that we can't see anything beyond the material as a motivation to do whatever. Perhaps love, once you fall in love, that's a motivation to do things you wouldn't normally do. But beyond that, we can't find a non-materialistic thing that will drive us forward, which I think is unfortunate. I think you're right. We could somehow maybe overcome that, but it would mean giving up our selfish nature.
Well, as I said before, sometimes selfishness is necessary. Sometimes being practical is necessary. But to address materialism, materialism, under the philosophical definition of the assumption that we live in a purely physical world and that only physical objects and quanta of energy exist as anything other than an object of thought. To quote Adler, he said, he said regarding that word and definition, he said that may be true. He said the assumption may be true. Making it is not wrong. Stating it as a dogmatically established truth is an error to be avoided. I think a lot of people, especially in the new atheist movement, make that mistake of stating it as a dogmatically established truth, rather than something that may be assumed, and may be correctly assumed, but not dogmatically established. Sort of taking off from there, because I mentioned Dawkins, and I think I talked about him a couple of times in my last review. If I could sort of segue, because it brings to mind the kinds of things, even when we're talking about music or art or theology or philosophy, the kinds of things and the kinds of figures that I am interested in. And there are two people that spring to mind that you would think are just polar opposites to what I believe and what I think is true and just and that kind of thing. Two figures that I greatly admire, I would say, would be Martin Luther and Richard Dawkins. And these are two people that I disagree with on so many fundamental levels, and I think that so much of what they ended up saying was wrong. But even as I am disagreeing and poring over what they say and dissecting it and vigorously saying, no, that's incorrect, I can't possibly ignore them. You can't possibly ignore Richard Dawkins. You can grimace and complain that he's being rude or he's a bully or this or that or the other thing, but you can't turn away. It's funny. I have so many friends who are believers who own The God Delusion. They own the book. They've read it, and they chagrin and they say, "Oh, this guy is from the devil." But they've read the book. They own the book. You can't possibly turn away from him. You can't possibly ignore what he's saying. That kind of thing, I think, interests me more than people who say things only that I would agree with, or who state such obvious little platitudes. God is love. Jesus is Lord. All the bumper sticker theology has no interest to me whatsoever. I believe that God is love. I believe that Jesus is Lord in a very different sense than most popular pop evangelical sense today. I believe those things. But just to sit there and look at this pathetic little platitude slapped on somebody's car is, to me, just the most boring, uninteresting, dull, depressing thing that I really could possibly imagine. I would read Dawkins or Hitchens or Harris 1,000 times over before I ever had to look at one of those bumper stickers again or listen to any of those little sentimental platitudes ever again.
Speaking about bumper stickers, I was watching a YouTube channel where this priest was talking about how the atheist movement is now putting on buses something along the lines of science can fly you over buildings, faith will fly a plane, or no, science will fly you over buildings, religion will fly a plane into one, inferring that because of religion is why 9/11 happened, and inferring that religion is a negative, horrible thing to be avoided, but science is the cure to this. Why? Why? What are they trying to accomplish? I can understand a church trying to recruit people, but they don't have an organization of that nature. So what are they trying to do here?
Martin Luther saw the corruption, the worldliness, the violence, and the terrible hypocrisy that was going on and was one real facet of the church when he was alive. And he went to the door of the cathedral and he nailed his list of grievances to it furiously and with great courage and conviction. I would say that these new atheists who have those silly little bumper stickers that I don't think anyone's interested in, I certainly am not, but they are in a sense nailing their list of grievances to religion. And I greatly admire them for doing that. I think that if we look at the pitfalls and the errors that Luther made in his attempt to reform the church by doing away with practicality and reasoning, I think we'll find similar things in the new atheist movement. I think them and Martin Luther are very similar in their convictions, very right in their complaints, but very flawed in their conclusions similarly. Any movement, any attempt to deal with specific problems in an institution or an idea that ends with let's do away with the idea altogether and that'll fix the problem. That statement in and of itself is totally unreasonable. It's totally contrary to what we do as thinkers and actors and knowers. But putting that aspect of it aside, the reason this is going on, as I said before, and I want to repeat this because I think it's important, they are nailing their list of grievances to the door of religion. And however much I may disagree with their conclusions, I greatly admire them for doing that. And with that, I'll tell you to hold on for 1 second because I really have to take a leak.
And that is part 5. There's more to come, so stay tuned. Until next time, peace out.